Hi there, welcome back to my shop. I recently got a sticker from Jeff Webb. His channel is called Love Wood. He's had it for a while, but just recently started doing some wood turning videos. I think you'd like them, so I'm going to put a link down below in the description box so you can check out his channel. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you if you want to leave comments on his videos. Subscribe and show him a little love. All right, for today's project, I have some beautiful maple burl here. Now, about 8 or 9 months ago, I was given some maple burl by Alan Duke. Thank you so much, Alan. These are just gorgeous. Now, these have been drying for that 8 or 9 months, and for the last 4 months, I've had them in a drying box. Now, the drying box is something that was designed by Rick of RickTurns, and I'll put a link down below so you can check that video out and see how it was made. I really like it. It's doing a great job. So thank you for that, Rick. All right, now I've got these 2 pieces of burl dried, and my idea is to take these and glue them together. I've jointed these 2 edges so that they should glue up well, and I want to do that so I have a little bit of a balance on them and can actually do some turning with them. And then afterwards I'll probably just cut them apart with the table saw. I really love maple burl. It is just too gorgeous for words. So thank you, Alan, so much. I really appreciate this. Now I hope I can do them justice, and I hope you'll stick around and see what I come up with. Let's get some work done. I want to find not necessarily the center of this, but where it's going to be best balanced. So I have a 3-inch nail in my vise with a flat top on it. Trying to do it on the point would be next to impossible. I want to set this on there until I get it balanced. All right, that should be close enough that I can just take a pencil, mark around the head of that nail, and then I will use that as the center to put a glue block on here. And that's about the center of that. And I'm hung up. Cool. All right, I will get a glue block and put it on here now so I can put this on the lathe and start turning it. I'm going to set my centering jig on here now, and then I'll bring over my glue block. This side of it is very slightly concave, which is just fine because I'm only putting glue around the outside edge. So the entire face does not have to sit flat against this piece. And now I'm just going to use plenty of hot glue around the edge. And I'll bring you back after this glue has cooled and I've got it on the lathe. All right, I'll stand out of the way, and this is at 250 RPM. All right, seems to be running quite true. Now, there are a few spots like in here where I've got some bark that I'm going to have to dig out, and a lot of it right in here, but I will worry about that later. For now, I just want to start putting a tenon on the face of this. All right, time to find out what this will do at 500 RPM. And again, I'm well out of the way. Seems to be running nicely. Now I have marked the center spot right there. I'm going to put these dividers right in there, and then I'm going to mark it for the tenon. And that will be the outside for these larger jaws. All right, I think that's going to work just fine. All right, well out of the way again. I'm going to see what happens if I turn this up to 1000 RPM. Well, it's not flying apart yet. Now when I try turning this out here, to put a little contour on here, I might just lose this. I think it's held in mostly by the bark here, but we'll find out. I'm not sure how this is showing up on the camera, but for the most part, when I'm cutting over here, I'm actually watching over here. Makes it much easier to see what's going on. Okay, I think that got rid of enough tear out that I can sand that quite easily. Now I've got to carry on across here. All right, I'm getting it to flare out a bit. I like that. I need to hone my gouge, I think, and try to clean this up a little nicer than that. I really don't want to have to sand this whole thing. Well, it's a bit improved. I'm getting so much vibration at this speed. It's very tough to get clean cuts. It's more a test of tool control than anything else. All right, I want to sand this now. And from here out, be very difficult to do it with it running, but I'm going to try at 500 RPM. This will be running in reverse, and I'll be using this 2-inch pad with the 2-inch disc on it, hopefully without catching it in here. But if I keep it at an angle, I should be all right. If I can't, I will just stop it and do it. As I said, this will be running in reverse, so the dust collector hood right here is going to take all the dust away. We hope. So I'm going to put on my air shield to protect my lungs and start sanding this. I'll show you a little bit of what I'm doing, and then I'll be back after it's finished. I'm going to start with the sanding sealer. This is Zinsser Seal Coat, which is a shellac-based sanding sealer. I have 2 coats of sanding sealer on here, and of course that's made this a little bit rough, So I'm going to use this 2-inch disc with a 400 grit pad. I've got the boot for the dust collector ready here. This is going to be running in reverse, and I'm just going to do this very gently, just to smooth it out, and then put shellac on it. All right, it's all nice and smooth. Now I'll get ready to put the shellac on there. I'm going to be using this shellac, putting on very thin coats. I'm going to put on 3 or 4 coats, I believe. See how they turn out. Just going to be doing it like this in the center, where I can do it with the piece spinning. I'll turn it down to 100 RPM and just put it on there very gently as well. And after I have all these coats on, I'll be back to show you the results before I reverse it in the chuck. I think I've got a nice thin coat on there. I'm going to let this dry thoroughly, do the other coats, and I'll be back. To say that I am pleased with the way this came out would be a huge understatement. From the moment I started putting the sanding sealer on and saw these colors start to pop, I was thrilled. I don't know if the camera will really pick up these reds and all the striations, the browns, everything that's in here, but I think it's just gorgeous. I hope I can make what is supposed to be the front look as good as this. Just using the Tripoli compound and the Carnauba wax with the buffing wheels did a great job. I did not use the white diamond because there are a lot of small openings in the face of this, and getting the white diamond in there could be almost impossible to remove. So now I'm going to reverse this, put my chuck jaws on here, and see what I can decide to do on the front. Now I know that some people are going to say I should have used alcohol to take that glue off. And I have done that in the past and it's worked very well. But there's something different about this particular glue and it just doesn't touch it. So that's why I used my spindle gouge. I love the looks of these spikes or nodules or whatever you want to call them. These are very different from these and yet they're both beautiful. Although I realize most of the beauty of a burl insofar as the color and the pattern is actually down below these. Now I'm going to be going very slowly here because I have no preconceived notion of what I want this to look like. I don't want it to be too thin here. I would hate to lose all of these spikes, but I will be coming down in here making a curve of some kind. And I'm sure you don't want to listen to me babble about it, so why don't I just start doing it? I'm going to have to turn that down. I'll try 750 RPM. One thing when turning a piece like this, that's a good idea on any piece, but especially on this type, is to keep your hand on this side of the tool rest. Oh, look at the beautiful patterns that are showing up in here. Oh, that is so gorgeous. Doing quite a job of tearing this point up. And I'm pretty sure I can take care of that after the turning. Not crazy about that. Could really use a little more speed because of all the air that I'm cutting, but it's a little too much vibration at the moment. I hope that soon I can increase this to 1000 RPM. Alright, I've removed enough of some of these open areas that I believe I can turn at 1000 RPM now. and it is helping out on the cuts quite a bit smoother. Now I'm starting to get pretty thin one area here. This is just about exactly what I'm wanting to leave this at, but I have a couple of spots right here and on the opposite side that are just a little bit rougher than I like, and I don't want to just sand them out. I also don't want to have another famous one last cut and have something blow up, but I'm going to try for a very thin cut right from here to here, feather it out, and then leave it. I have freshly honed my gouge, and I've also got the speed up to 1250 RPM. So let's see how this goes. That's definitely improved it there. I want to take it just a little further. Okay, I'm happier with that, at least a little bit happier. And the rest of this up here I'll be doing with sanding. Now I need to work on this face and try to decide what I want to do. These are two individual pieces, of course, so I can't just make a bowl out of this. Although it may not look terrible, it'll be obvious instantly that this is two different pieces. So I still want these to be two individual pieces. I'm just going to get this set up and I'll be back. All right, a little rough, but I just wanted to true this surface up a bit because of the joint. I have decided that I'm going to leave this bark here. I quite like the looks of this, but I'm not crazy about this fuzzy piece that's right here. If the part in the back here hangs in there, that would be fine, but I don't care for this. So I'm going to dig that out of there, see what it's going to look like. I'm going to turn this in reverse just because I can see better what I'm doing. Let's see how this works out. I've got 2 grub screws that I've tightened down to make sure my chuck doesn't loosen up. And it's still flat. How about that? And I'm going to leave that crack in there. I like the character it's adding to the piece. So now it's time to do some sanding. I won't bore you with all the sanding, but I'll be back when I have finished it. Well, I am pretty darn happy with this so far. This is just such beautiful work. And yes, I know Mother Nature did all the heavy lifting. I'm just taking away some of the pieces and putting a shine on it. But I'm very happy with what has happened with this so far. So now all I really have to do is reverse this, take off that tenon, and then cut this down that joint. And I've got to be honest, I was almost tempted to just keep it as it is and hang it on a wall, but it wouldn't take long before I'd get real tired of looking at this joint. It's just not right. So I hope you'll stick with me while I reverse this, take that tenon off. I haven't done that too often, but I've got some good lessons from Gary Asher, better known as the Papa 1947, and Phil Anderson, better known as, well, Phil Anderson. They're experts at that, so I hope I can follow their example and do a decent job on this. And if you're still with me at this point, thank you. I hope you'll stick around for the rest of this. Let's go take care of some more work. I still have the center hole in the tenon, the mark that I could use the live center to come back up into so I could get this properly centered. And if you see this hose back here, you might be able to figure out that I have got this hooked up with a vacuum chuck. But I've also found that I've got a very slight bit of an air leak somewhere, probably because of these bug holes that are back here. And I'm not going to trust it to hold this completely. So I'm going to turn this down as far as I can, and then I'm going to turn it off and likely just chisel that off. I'll have to see how I feel about this. I'm going to turn on the vacuum pump, but it's pretty loud, so I've got it outside about 15 feet away. You'll probably still hear it, although I will turn down the volume on that. So I'm going to be turning this at 750 RPM using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. All right, I'm just going to sand this while it's still in place here, and then I'll figure out what to do with that little nub. Let's just see what happens if I take this away. The vacuum pump is running. Wow, that's actually holding better than I thought it would be. Ooh. I'm going to try turning this away. Oh, I'll cry if this falls off. All right, I've come up with another way that I hope is going to take this off better. I'm just going to put my logo coin in here, so I will use the 15/16 of an inch bit to take that off, turning very slow at 100 RPM. Let's see what this does. At that speed, I should be able to trap this with my hand if I have to, and I'd really rather not. I'm going to use Starbond Medium CA glue to put my logo coin in. If you're interested, there's a 15% discount for my viewers. The description box will have all the information you need. I'm just going to put this in here, let it set up for a while, and then I'll be back. Well, I am very pleased with how this whole thing turned out. I used Axe abrasive and polishing paste on this center, and it's not quite as shiny as what the shellac is. But then that's because I just was a little leery of turning this piece up to 3000 RPM like I usually do when I'm polishing Axe paste. But it's still very nice. I like it a lot. And did you notice how well planned this was? Getting the logo coin just off of that joint so I can cut that in two? If you call dumb luck well planned, that's what it was. So, I hope you're still with me. And now there's one step left, and that's to go and cut this in half. My original intention was to put this on the sled on my table saw. But I realized that this is just over 2.5 inches thick. Combine that with the 3/4 inch base of my table saw sled, and I'm well over 3 inches high, which is the limit that my blade will come up. So I took a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. I measured out very carefully to get the center line, the exact distance from the fence. Stuck this down with 2-sided tape and then ran it along that fence. And I think it turned out pretty well. The cut edges are a little bit scorched, but I'll be able to clean that up with some sanding, and I'll probably put my logo coin in the bottom of this one as well, since it's already on the back of this one. Well, I believe that my wife, she who must be obeyed, is going to like this. She liked it before I cut it apart, and I didn't screw that up too badly, so I think she's going to be happy. Well, I hope you liked it too. I realize this was a longer video than I usually do. If you stuck with me to this point, I really appreciate it. I hope you got some idea out of this. I've never seen anybody glue two pieces of burl together before myself. I'm sure someone has. This was a first for me. So if you did enjoy this, I hope you will click that like button. If you didn't, click the dislike button. Also, I'd appreciate it if you haven't done so before, if you would subscribe, and please, I want this to be seen, so if you could share it with others, I'd really appreciate that a lot. All right, well, thank you again for showing up today. I hope you will come back next time. Between now and then, be safe and have a great day in your shop. Take care now. Bye-bye.